The Prime Minister has supercharged the Queensland's LNP election campaign, joining the state opposition leader's campaign. The Premier insists she isn't worried by the support as the border battle reigned supreme.
Shoulder to shoulder with Deb Frecklington and elbow to elbow with constituents. It's the Prime Minister's first visit to Queensland since the peak of the COVID-19 crisis.
I've been itching to come back to Queensland. It's wonderful to be here in the blue sky state, and it's got a blue sky future. There's no doubt about that. And by lower taxes and getting people back into jobs and supporting the manufacturing industry.
Scott Morrison says he didn't apply for an entry exemption.
I spent 14 days in the ACT before coming up here.
But argues while health advice should be followed.
So exemptions should be there, but they should be applied consistently. And they can't be one rule for some and a different rule for others when it comes to exemptions.
Deb Frecklington earlier called for Queensland's border exemption rules to be overhauled while pledging an upgrade of the M1.
I mean, it just doesn't make sense. When you've got one rule for the rich and famous, whether it's Danny Minogue or Tom Hanks, but yet you don't have that same rule for Jane from the sunny coast. There's a real issue with the system, and that's why I'm calling for that overhaul.
The Queensland Premier seemingly unfazed by the Prime Minister's criticism of her border rules and show of support for her opposition.
Queenslanders are smart people. They know it's a state election. It's not a federal election, it's a state election. And I think Queenslanders also know that there's, been one party and one government that's been absolutely focused on protecting them and keeping them safe.
Anastasia Palaszczuk toured the marginal electorate of Currumbin, announcing $30 million funding for surf lifesaving. The Currumbin electorate will be one to watch. It's held by the LNP on a margin of just 3.3% after a by-election was triggered earlier this year. So it's no surprise that Prime Minister Scott Morrison chose to tour this steel manufacturing plant in the electorate to reinforce Deb Frecklington's campaign. It'll also be contested by mining magnate Clive Palmer's wife, Anna. Anna Rawlings, Sky News.